Hello, everyone. Ready for another Mário Lima Hypnosis podcast? Today we have episode number 3, and I have the pleasure of having a friend, Rydiger Nielsen, someone that knows his business in hypnosis. So, first of all, I want to go through a quick introduction about Rydiger Nielsen and his work. He is a great character, someone that actually studied in medical school in Aalborg, in Denmark, and he had some insights in his own life because Rydiger is someone that really knows how to walk the walk. That's his philosophy. We're going to know more about that in a second. He works with customers. He does a fantastic job in transforming right out of the blue people that need help in resolving some kind of issues and problems. He's going to talk about that. But first and foremost, presentations are done now. So how are you doing, Rydiger? It's a pleasure to have you on this Mário Lima Hypnosis podcast. How are you doing?
Thank you, Mario, and thank for letting me in on your podcast, and thanks for the nice introduction. I'm looking forward to it, Mario.
Okay, so Rydiger, your philosophy since the first day we met and we talked about hypnosis, you have always been talking about this idea of having walked the past. So you say, I walk the path, and that's the walk the walk, as you say it. How does that philosophy is in your work? Tell us more about that. I think the audience wants to know how you see change work with people.
I walked a rocky road myself, and in parts of life that I don't really wish for other people to walk, but people that maybe walk down a wrong road or a wrong direction in their life, they know there is a way out of it. When I'm working with clients, I use my own past experience to help them, and the clients I'm interested in working with know that I have been where they are. I'm working with addiction and have been, addicted to alcohol and cannabis and porn for many years, until 8 years ago, where I quitted myself. And I use this on how I did this in my work. I did it in 1.5 hours with some self-hypnosis before I knew anything about hypnosis. But I knew I had the talent for it because I could do it with myself.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things that caught my attention is because you have like this approach that I call let's talk like a direct words. You have a no bullshit approach. So you are one of those guys that says, okay, this is how we can do stuff because I've done the walk myself. So it's no secret, and you courageously put out there this message that you have suffered from addiction, you suffered from sleep disorders, you had memory loss problems. You even had a phase when I guess you were studying on medicine school, right? You had some issues that you had to deal. What is it like to be open to say I've been there? So how does that impact your customers and clients? Can you tell us about that?
It took me a while, especially with porn addiction. I had a hard time being honest about that because it's most people have seen it, but nobody wanna show that part of themselves that they have been into this problem. A lot of people hide their problems. They hide addiction, abuse, addiction, and they try to cover up themselves to protect themselves of what the world around thinks of them. I did as well for a long time, but I found out it's not really working. Uh, Everybody knows you have a problem anyway. But I've never met anything negative by being just honest and just being, honest about my problem I had. And this honesty is like melting the ice between me and the clients, because they know I've been there, so they have nothing to hide, because their problem is not bigger than mine was. And it's true that when I was in medical school, I had some mental issues as well, where I was looking for a solution in psychiatry. It didn't work for me. I can't say that everybody is not working for, but it didn't work for me. But my entry already into medical school was a bit crazy. I was a bit crazy in my whole abusive nature. The reason why I wanted to be a doctor was actually to get drugs easy. So
you were on the right spot to have that.
so I just put my effort down in getting into medical school, and I got in there, but I was already worn out from the work. They are doing a lot of work to get in there. But I had the whole wrong perspective of life at that time. So it was it was just madness for me going into medical school as well.
Right.
As a lot of things I've done was in totally madness.
Right. So that honesty really brings more trust with the customer and more openness from their part. And something that I'm really curious is along on your life path. So you then crossed the walk with hypnosis. I know that you also studied Vipassana meditation with a monk, a Buddhist monk. So how did your style blend together with all those approaches? What did you first get in touch? Was it hypnosis? Was talk therapy? Was the Vipassana meditation? So how did you blend, had all those insights and learned your system? How did you blend all together?
It all started with me 8 years ago getting out of alcohol and cannabis abuse, and I think it was about 5 years ago I got out of porn addiction.
Right.
And then because I used this alcohol and cannabis as medicine for myself, then when I dropped it so fast as I did, I had some mental issues because I hadn't worked with myself and my own mind and all these things. So I had to find a way
Mhm.
um, around how I could get it mentally, a mentally stable mind without cannabis and alcohol. And it's a long description I would have to make to tell it precisely how it was, and I will do that at one time. But this interview is simply not. It will be too long, so I will keep it simple. I worked with myself and found out how I could get out of my mental issues, my mental problems, by myself. And one morning I woke up and I had solved the problem. So all fear and anxiety, which was my problem, I didn't know it because I had fear and anxiety all my life. But I found a model to cope with this in about a month's time. I think I worked out this system I could use every time I had the feelings of some fear or some anxiety, I worked out this system, and one morning I woke up and it was just solved. And I remember I was sitting up and I was just thinking, why didn't I think of this? Why didn't I think of evaluating my
Right,
thoughts in this
right.
way instead? And then I met this monk who taught me Vipassana meditation, and it came very easy to me. So after 10 months, he said that I was my own teacher in this. And we became friends, and we were talking of how was it so hard for people to begin evaluating their thoughts and begin coping with their own life and healing themselves. And I asked him, why can't they just do it? And he goes, they can't. So I thought of a way to help people faster getting into this mode or this state of mind that was more free of fear and anxieties and difficulties and all this. So I read a book by Fred Jacquin about hypnosis. I didn't know anything about hypnosis. I didn't know at this time, I didn't know that I had already made self-hypnosis on myself. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know anything about it, but when I read this book, I thought that might be the way. So I took a course in hypnosis in a place in Denmark, and it was a short course, but it gave me the idea, and I just begin taking more courses in
Yeah.
hypnosis and going to conferences where I met you, for instance,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, that's right.
so
Okay.
that was my way into it. I'm pretty, um,
Okay.
yeah.
And one thing that strikes me is this. You really are using, from what I understand from your work, you're using hypnosis as a way to achieve more easily what perhaps a Buddhist monk develops all over his experience and his meditation practice all over the time. So you can use hypnosis to help people get to that state of contemplation and observing the inner reality from themselves. But then again, you talk a little bit about imagination and how imagination can help you expand your frontiers, like change perceptions, change the way you see reality. So I know you have international talks actually in your lectures that you talk about imagination. And you want to tell us more about that? What's your thoughts on how imagination can impact our experience and changes?
I don't believe that we can see reality as reality really is. We can't see the world as it is. Uh, we are Our senses can't cope with the showing reality. This is um, yeah, it's the way we can use our imagination is to, in a way, manipulate ourselves to get the reality we want. We can't say, in my world, we can't say what the world is really like, but we can begin making our world with our imagination the way that we can live in it with without fear and anxieties and a lot of problems. So with our imagination, we are already doing this now. I was seeing world as a horrible place with my imagination, but I changed my imagination to being a
Mm-hmm.
friend instead of an enemy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah.
Actually, you
So it's
changed.
quite simple.
Yeah. So you should, instead of making it your enemy, you're making it your friend, right? Then
Yeah. And that's in a way what I try to teach my clients and people I meet is just to begin imagine your world in a different way, and it will be in a different way. But just be careful of what you're imagining because it's gonna be your truth.
yeah, yeah.
So it's quite simple.
It's
Um,
simple and effective, right?
It is, and in a way, you can do it like this. There is not a big. We all have this ability. It's just a question of using it in the right way. And the way I use my model, and I'm developing my model, hypnotic scale. I'm developing it all the time. Every time I find something new, things I can put into it, I put it into it, and I test it on some clients, and see if it works.
All
I
right.
always test it on myself first. It's the easier thing because I can test it on myself immediately when I find something or read something, some philosophy or something else. I test it on myself first because I know I'm the perfect test.
That's right. And you were saying actually that once you use hypnosis, you use the hypnotic phenomena, and then you have this hypnotic talk. When you talk about hypnotic talk, do you get your own insights and experience? Do you use any kind of particular inductions, or you go along with your gut instinct where you want to guide the customer? I think I know where you stand, but what's your particular view on that when you talk to people in hypnosis?
I shall be fully honest and say I've never used the script. Never. Uh, uh, I'm getting bored of just sitting and reading it. I have never read all through a script. It's something that happens in the moment, and it's not me that's doing it. It's the client themselves in a way, and I'm just good at translating, I guess, something that they know themselves. A lot of times when I'm working with clients, I don't even know what they're doing.
All
But
right.
it's working. It's like giving them some insights to themselves that they know themselves. I'm just putting in some few words, few suggestions, and a lot of times they just work it out by themselves. And when they walk out my door, I a lot of the times, or quite a few times, I don't even know what they were on about. A lot of time, I don't even know what their problem is.
Right, right. That's really great. And I know that you are also doing something great, which is I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that. You are actually producing some filmings and documentaries with hypnosis and your clients and your transformational work, right? So you're doing something special with that. So
Yes.
what you have on the next few months going out. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, I've started this film production company, which is going to produce these films, um, so people can sit down and watch them, and they will be on YouTube. Uh, I'm planning on letting them at the first of first to 2021. Um, I will introduce it on YouTube, and my idea is that people can sit down and watch this video, and a lot of the time solve their own problems with them. That's the plan, um, without me helping them, because it's all suggestions that makes them uh, get to know themselves. They
That's right.
don't really need me.
So you're kind of guiding their own internal experience, and they sort out the way by themselves. So it's really fantastic. And do you now let's center a little bit our talk on hypnosis by itself. So I know you have a very intuitive style. You like me also.
Mm.
I just hate scripts. So and so you go free flowing. You go out of instinct. So you do that work that feels adequate to the customer at the moment. But when we're talking about hypnosis, how do you define your style? So what's your experimentation around hypnosis? What are you testing at the moment? You're testing something different. So do you want to say something about that?
I must say, Milton Erickson is, of course, a very interesting read. and his thought of it. But at the moment, I'm going into Carl Gustav Jung's way of looking at the psychic, and I'm reading about that, and I'm reading about phenomenology, Martin Heidegger and Husserl, and I try to how do you say, take some wisdom out of that and put into my films, and put into my system. And it's hard for me to actually answer your question totally, because I've never had two clients where I've done anything. It has been a new fallen snow that I walked on every time. It's different. I've never had two clients where I planned anything or anything. It's phenomenous that happens in the moment.
In the moment, really
So
spectacular.
it's very hard to explain it. And a lot of the hypnosis there is already in the talk. I think one of the strong side in my model is the talk before, where we get acquainted. You know, the coffee moment where we sit and talk. It's already a hypnotic suggestions a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time, or sometimes we don't even go into the trance mode. A lot of the time they don't need the trance mode, but the trance is, well.
It's another suggestion, maybe, perhaps.
Yeah, and a lot of people expect it.
And stuff, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people expect this trance, but in my world, it's not always that it's that they might already have got to the place where they feel better before you even go into a trance.
Fantastic.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Really inspiring. Totally agree on that. And I just have a couple more questions. And on your reflection, do you work? I think it's also connects a little bit with like a spiritual path, right? So
oh yeah, for sure.
What do you think that if people become more connected with that spiritual side, what's your recommendation to people in order for them? Of course, you are available to work with people that really have cases that want to bring to you to solve. But do you have any kind of like saying for people that may see this and are not particularly needing of therapy, but can we become more spiritual? How can we become more connected with our own resources and outside world? So what do you feel about that?
I think it's hard to put some special thing down on anybody. I've been very interested in Buddhism. I don't consider myself as a Buddhist. I don't consider myself as any special religion or anything. But if I should say where I'm getting close to, is probably Buddhism.
Right.
And then I consider myself a student of Hermes Trismegistus. That's quite interesting. But I think people have to begin meditating to begin finding a new path in their life, so their thoughts don't always interfere with their well-being. Their ego is a lot of the time a problem for people because they don't see their real power, their real natural born nature, because they have this ego and this brain that is constructed in a way that is not always favorable in the time we are living in, because it's, firing off all the time biochemical substances out in the body that is good if you were out in a field and a lion came after you. But when you're living in this modern world, it is, it might be a little bit hard to understand what I'm saying, because it's but I think people should be finding ways to quiet their brains, their thinking, their thoughts. I'm working a lot with thinking and thoughts at the moment, because this is the problem: the evaluation of their thoughts and their thinkings. That was my problem anyway. So I can only talk about myself, but it seems like a lot of people have this problem.
Of course, it's a great insight. Rydiger, I think that this kind of wraps it up. So I don't know if you want to say something about how people can reach you, but at least I can see there's a fantastic website there, rydigernielsen.dk. So do you want to say anything else? And
I can say that this YouTube channel, you should be, if you are interested in seeing some of my work, you could go in on this one now. There's only a few resources at the moment,
okay.
And my website is a little bit messy at the moment. I'm working on it, but I'm at the first 2021. Hang on a minute.
We can see.
Okay. I'm launching some new stuff. I'm launching some new stuff that can be pretty interesting for people if they want to maybe get a new insight to how they can work without being in therapy, or without being with a consultant of anything. They can just sit down for themselves and try to see how new insights maybe. And of course, they can contact me in these different forums, platforms, of course. And
fantastic.
Yeah.
So this kind of wraps it up. So I have to thank you, Rydiger, for this amazing content. Really was great having a chat with you. I hope that we meet again very soon, and I hope we do, because I'm eager for live events again, because this is being filmed on, of course, 2020, the pandemic year. So I'm really looking forward for the next events, hypnosis events, conventions, where lots of people get together, and we have to keep chatting and discussing some great ideas with hypnosis. So
yeah, it was a shame we didn't meet again in London this year, or Zurich. Everything was dropped.
We'll schedule for next year, so we're gonna be there.
I'll see you there then.
Once again, Rydiger, thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mario.
Okay, so viewers, this wraps it up. So stay tuned for another episode that is coming of Mário Lima Hypnosis podcast. It's all for now. Take care. Bye bye.